Let the bass kick.
Good morning and welcome to our first Commissioners on the Road program. We are excited to be today in the Manitou Springs City Hall. Thank you to all of those here from the community to welcome us into your place, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. We begin each of our meetings with an invocation, and today we have Katie Price. Please join if you would like to.
Please bow your head. God, we gather here today in humility and faith. We thank you for the opportunity to be involved in our community. And Lord, I ask that you provide everyone in this room the capacity to honor every member of our community. God, we thank you for the courageous men and women who sacrifice their lives for our freedom and safety. And we ask that you help them feel the respect and gratitude about their communities. Lord, during this meeting, we pray that all voices will be heard and opinions respected. Please help us resolve any disputes gracefully and have the betterment of our communities at the forefront of our minds. Amen.
Thank you. And I think we're going to have, I'm going to ask Mayor John Graham of Manitou Springs to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning. If you'll all join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. As I said, we are very excited to be here in Manitou Springs today. This is our first stop on the Commissioners on the Road program. And this is an opportunity for residents from all over the community to engage with us at locations that are closer to you. It allows us to connect and collaborate. There was an awful lot of that going on this morning. It was exciting to see the conversations that were happening. And thank you for your patience as we're starting a little bit late to let some of that continue to happen. All of our BOCC meetings are live streamed on Facebook, Twitter, and the county channel. So thank you to our AV team for allowing that to still happen in a remote location. And for information on Commissioners on the Road program and to learn more about our other locations that we will be at in the coming months, you can visit our webpage at elpasoco.com. You can also connect with us and stay informed by following us on any of those social media outlets that I just mentioned. With that, I'd love to acknowledge Mayor John Graham to welcome us to his community and give us a little introduction, and then we will carry on with our agenda.
Great. Thank you very much for being here. I mean, we're excited, not only that you're here, but you picked us to be first. Manitou is a place that's very close to my heart. A few places, I think, really can celebrate the natural beauty we have, sandwiched between the majesty of Pikes Peak and the Garden of the Gods. We're very lucky to live here. We're delighted when we have visitors, and it's neat that the policymakers in the county that you're here today. We very much appreciate the cooperation that we've had with you over the years, and we look forward to it in the future. Hopefully after your meeting, you'll be able to walk around and enjoy it and let your hair down a little bit. With that, I am going to make you honorary citizens of Manitou Springs today. And with that, you will have the opportunity to drink your fill of all the mineral water you want. You can take a reasonable amount home with you. Come and enjoy our trails. We have a lot of trails that start in Manitou Springs and they reach out into the National Forest into El Paso County. Out in the front, there's some photos of we did a commemoration. The Ute Indians came and blessed the Ute Indian Trail last October. And that's part of the El Paso County Park System. So you are a fundamental player in that. It's a tremendous piece of Colorado history there that extends well beyond Manitou Springs. And so be proud of the role that you and your staff play in this. You're also welcome to come to our restaurants and festivals, and we do a lot of things here. So it's a fun place. When you're not always working, come in and have a good time. So with that, I'm going to pass out small tokens, and you are going to be citizens of honorary citizens of Manitou Springs. This means that not only will you probably frequent the country's 39th largest city, but you also now have citizenship in a community that not only has Springs as its last name, but that actually has mineral springs. Okay.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, sir. Awesome.
Thank you.
We're proudly.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 3.
Item number 3 is staff emergency items, and I'm unaware of any staff emergency items today.
Item number 4.
Item number 4 is changes, postponements, and notice of the next meeting. I'm unaware of any changes or postponements to today's agenda, and the next meeting will be May 2nd in the Centennial Hall Auditorium at 9 a.m. and again at 1:00 p.m. for land use.
Item number 5.
Item number 5 is the consent calendar consisting of items 5A1 through 5L3.
Okay. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Hearing none in the audience. Are there any online? Hearing none online. I will bring it up here for discussion and a motion.
I will move approval of the consent calendar, items 5A1 through item L3.
And I'll second.
That has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion up here? Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did just want to point out a couple of the larger projects in cooperation with the Colorado Department of Transportation, including item H, which is for the construction of the Callahan Highway Bridge over Big Sandy Creek. I think that is something that has been looked forward to by our residents, and just wanted to highlight that here, that I'm very excited to see this item.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, that has been moved and seconded. I will call the roll. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The consent calendar passes 5-0. Item number 6.
Item number 6 is comments by elected officials and commissioner liaison reports.
Excellent. Do we have any other elected officials who would like to speak this morning? Okay, no county-wides online? Okay. Commissioner Williams, we'll start with you.
Yes, it is such an honor to be here, and I've always wanted to be an honorary citizen. So I think we're going to cancel. We talked about in the van on the way over that we were going to cancel our afternoon meeting and climb the incline. I will point out I'm the only one who wore shoes appropriate to do that. So we'll stay and at least climb the incline. But it's a beautiful city, and I've always enjoyed when I've come over here. So thank you very much for having us. I really, other than that, I don't have very many comments today, and because it's such an honor to be here. We did attend last night the Arkansas River Basin Water Forum at the Doubletree, and it's always interesting I always say that if you're involved in water, you meet a lot with other people, and I spoke with a gentleman who lived in the Denala Water District, and for close to 10 years would travel down once a month to the Arkansas River Basin Forum down in Pueblo, because they were attempting to get a 1041 permit from the Pueblo County Commissioners. And that relationship that they built over a period of 10 years, just attending the meetings, they were finally able to get that through. So it was very interesting to hear his perspective on how the water rights had developed in the Glen Eagle area. Otherwise, this week on our calendar, we are having tomorrow at our Centennial Hall the hold on, lost the name of it, the Animal Therapy Day, and we'll have animals there. Then we're going to be also having I have a Board of Adjustment, Appreciation Luncheon, and Goodwill of Colorado's annual dinner. And Thursday morning, I have breakfast with the Colorado Department of Transportation. And then, of course, on Friday, I'm attending the 4th Judicial District's Problem Solving and Solutions event. So those are the events I'm attending this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to thank the City of Manitou Springs for hosting us. And I think it is awesome that this is our first foray to hold a meeting outside of our board. And the plan is to do this and try to hold these meetings also in different districts around El Paso County so that other citizens will have closer access to us. And I appreciate the chair's program to do this and the support from the board. I also want to thank John Graham because we did an enormous amount of work together, good work together during COVID. And also, most recently, the homeless camp that was on the north side, or excuse me, on the west side of town here, that was really, I think, producing a pretty serious fire risk. And we worked together as a team to address those. But I'll also want to just thank the previous mayor, Ken Giray. He was also a gentleman that I worked with. And for many of you that may not remember, Ken invited me to several events over here. And that included cleaning graffiti off of rocks in the stream. And that was a lot of fun. I did that with Manitou Springs residents. And we had a lot of fun together working to make our environment a cleaner place, and enjoyed that. All of you may also know that you've got a great art center, the Manitou Art Center, the MAC. I've been to many events over there, really enjoy that. Love the people that work there. And for those of you that may not recall, Rainbow Falls, I think, is a beloved park here in the local area, and it is something that the county really committed to and has turned into a good, useful park that actually during COVID, because we have someone at the front entrance to make sure that other people wanting to put graffiti there don't do that. But we've been able to monitor, and that is a heavily, heavily used park. There were some days during COVID when 900 people came to that park in a single day. So it's a very heavily used park, and we are honored to provide that service to the residents here, but really for anybody that wants to go to it. And I just maybe to finish up with my appreciation of Manitou Springs is to thank John for making us a great little community here with all kinds of fun and interesting things that you do. Some of them are quirky, but I have a feeling you're all very proud of that. So I really love the stuff you do in town here. Okay, for those of you that don't know, Governor Polis did appoint me to the Colorado State Board of Health. I did participate in a meeting last week on that Board of Health. And then also last week, I attended the Forge Evolution Teen Court fundraising luncheon. I was over
in the afternoon with the Airport Advisory Commission committee meeting as well. And then I'll be attending the MAC Military's Hail and Farewell event Thursday evening. And I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is wonderful to be here as a commissioner that represents the other side of El Paso County. It's always good to get over here on the west side and experience all the wonderful variety that we have here in El Paso County. Some of the same events that have been mentioned, my colleagues, are also ones that I'll be attending this week, including Animal Therapy Day tomorrow at the Citizen Service Center. Looking forward to that. I will also be attending a Falcon Senior Services lunch, the Goodwill dinner that will take place. I also have some meetings with Mountain View Electric, which is the co-op that provides electricity to especially most of the area, unincorporated area in the eastern side of El Paso County. Always great to continue building that relationship and looking at ways that we can support great things for residents. I also have a regional building meeting and CCI steering this week as well, especially because we're here, we have a new item. So CCI is Colorado Communities Incorporated, and it's an opportunity for commissioners across the state of Colorado to get together and discuss the impacts of state legislation to our counties, and we do take bills and do things in those meetings. A little more on that in just a moment, but I also will be attending the 4th JD Problem Solving Specialty Courts Leadership Summit. So along that CCI steering area and the impacts of state legislation, we've talked for several weeks around a land use bill that is working its way through the legislature. I and some of our staff went up and testified on this bill recently. CCI has taken a position in opposition to this, as well as CML, which is the kind of city counterpart, and many others, because of the impacts to local control that we are very concerned about. Previously, the bill had some impacts on counties, but were primarily focused around cities, and changing zoning and taking a lot of that out of the hands of local governments and out of the area for residents to be able to come and weigh in on land use decisions. So very concerning, but when the bill actually passed out of committee, there were quite a few amendments, I think around 50 or so. And one of those amendments actually created another issue for counties. So previously, anyone who lived in any area that was zoned for single family, this was going to open up a use for right by ADUs, and it would override any covenants that your community might have. So if you had covenants in your community that said that you couldn't add an accessory dwelling unit, that would be nullified by this law. And so that was a concern for many residents. That was specifically going to concern folks who lived in a municipality. That has been extended for folks in a county. So I think that there's a lot of potential impact to residents and neighbors, and want to make sure that people understand what is going on with that bill. And I think we will continue to be in opposition to that because it's just not accessible. As we are here today on this Commissioners on the Road, you know, the point is to be more accessible to our citizens, to be transparent and make sure that they have the opportunity to weigh in. And so this is actually a step away from that, which is not something that I think is beneficial to our citizens. So continue to work on that this week as well, and look forward to continuing the partnerships that we have with our municipalities on opposing that. And just lastly, I mentioned at our last meeting, not related to the county, but spent some time at an education conference over the weekend. And, you know, I just think that it's important, you know, as we've talked about education, how important it is to our business community, that we continue to make choices that are fundamental to our kids and education. Those things become more and more difficult, but it's important to all of us, even if it's not in our direct purview. I know many of us are involved in the education world, but it was very interesting to sit in a room that there were folks representing 29 different states, and we're all struggling with the same thing. We do not have great performance. We have so many children who are not learning to read at grade level, and predictors of success in life and being able to get a good job, staying out of our judicial system, it really begins in elementary school. And third grade is a very critical year on that. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront, though it's outside of our normal purview here, because it is so important, and it may not be a legal responsibility or authority here, but I think we all as community members have a responsibility to care about our kids, care about education, because it will impact us all. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Geithner. So we do just have a few weeks left, I believe, of the legislative session here in Colorado, and Commissioner Geithner and several of us have been working with Colorado Counties, Inc. on really county impacts. So that continues to be kind of a heavy load. But one of the things I wanted to point out that's particularly maybe relevant to where we are today in Manitou Springs, there was a lot of legislation that would have to do with the wildland-urban interface, otherwise known as a WUI. And so we appreciate the ability to work with our colleagues in other municipalities. PPACG, just up the road in Old Colorado City, was pretty influential in that process. That continues to kind of morph and change, as does the land use bill. But we very much appreciate our partners, and when we can advocate for our local area with our partners from across the region. I think it really makes an impact. It really makes a difference, and particularly in the amendments that we see kind of in this phase of the legislative session. So Commissioner Vanderwerf, I know, has been a tireless advocate for this area on that front. So just know that we're, for the Manitou Springs residents and all those in this part of the county that find themselves in the wildland-urban interface, we're working hard not only to take care of the pieces that are in our jurisdiction in El Paso County, but we're working with the Forest Service and the state to ensure that we can appropriately defend and protect those areas, and that the legislation allows us to do that and have the resources. Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you very much for allowing me a follow-up, Madam Chair. And I appreciate actually you bringing up the topic about fire risk reduction and so forth, and to expand on that a little bit. But basically, for the benefit of the residents that are here and listening to us, one of the things that the county did using our federal lobbyist is we lobbied to help get the Pike National Forest $18 million to do mechanical mitigation, and that is funded now. It's a multi-year program, and the first phase of that is doing mechanical mitigation in the Pike National Forest north of Highway 24, starting in the area of the Waldo Canyon fire, and then continuing to move north, and eventually that will go all the way to the northern edge of El Paso County. It's not enough money to do everything that needs to be mitigated, but it will deal with several of the more risky mitigation areas, and that's something that we did help to achieve in getting funding for Pike National Forest. And then one last thing, our Pikes Peak Office of Regional Emergency Management did run an exercise for citizens in Crystal Park a couple years back to make sure that the residents there who live in a fairly dangerous fire risk area and do not have excellent egress capabilities to get out of their community had gone through at least one round about how to get out of there, how to obtain emergency messages. And as every time we have an exercise, we always have a lot of findings, and we work on addressing those findings. So I appreciate the chair's comments with regard to the work that we do about dealing with fire risk mitigation. And we do that on behalf of everybody on the west side, but also Manitou Springs. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vanderwerf. So we're just wrapping up my comments really quickly. I had Pikes Peak Workforce Consortium Board yesterday, and that is our region for that includes Teller County. So your commissioners just up the road there. Commissioner Bob Campbell joins us on that board, and glad that that can also kind of be a regional and extended approach. I also attended the Arkansas River Basin networking event last night. I will be attending a groundbreaking for the Commons later this afternoon. And tomorrow I have both the Board of Health and Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority. And that is it for my comments. So we are moving to item number 7.
Item number 7 is Community Service Organization Reports, Innovations in Aging. Erin Mazzarella, Executive Director, Innovations in Aging Collaborative.
Welcome. Thank you for your patience. While we're waiting to get that up, I can just kind of briefly introduce this item. Erin and her team at, let's see, who else do we have here from Innovations on Aging? If you want to spend this time just briefly introducing yourself just by name, we're excited to have you here today. This organization has tackled full on the issues of our aging population and ensuring that that they can have a long and healthy life here in El Paso County. And we're proud partners. I believe we granted some ARPA funds to a specific program that you all are a part of. And so we're excited to see the long-term benefits of that. So let's begin with you, Mr. Lord. You want to just stand and say your name? Great. Good morning. Thank you.
I will move ahead. I'm so sad for all the pretty pictures that are on my slide, in my slide deck, but I am really happy to share about what Innovations in Aging is doing for the community. And I want to thank the Board of Commissioners for having us here to present about the work that we've done and the work that we hope to do in expanding into El Paso County. And I have to say that I feel like it is serendipitous that we are here with you while you're moving into the county with commissioners on the road, because it's the same mission that we want to serve, moving from what we've done in Colorado Springs to coming into the county. And I have to give a shout out to the Penny Arcade in Manitou Springs, because it is my favorite place to take my family when they come to visit. My parents love it, my niece and nephew love it, and although it can get a little bit competitive, it is a wonderful intergenerational space for our families. Okay, we might be back up. So I would like to take this opportunity this morning to tell you all about who we are, what we do, and how our work aligns with El Paso County, and our hope to be able to bring the programs that we've developed in Colorado Springs to the larger Pikes Peak region in the coming years. Okay. I've heard it'll take 1 second for the slides. No? Okay. Well, we're a nonprofit. Innovations in Aging is a nonprofit. It was founded in 2009 to serve improved quality of life for older adults in Colorado Springs. It was designed to organize elected officials. Oh, great, here we are. Slide number 2. We're just gonna go from here, from slide number 2. Yeah, that works. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Sorry about the technical difficulties. But we were organized in 2009 to bring together elected officials, partner organizations, and community leaders to improve quality of life for older adults in Colorado Springs. In 2012, we formed into a nonprofit with a mission to convene the community to promote creative approaches that address the challenges and opportunities of aging. And our vision is a community, a livable community for everyone who grows up and grows older in our Pikes Peak region. What we do you want me to drive the slides then? Sure. I think I can move forward from there. No, it's okay. So what we do is age-friendly design. And age-friendly design, age-friendly is an international framework that communities can choose to adopt if they want to serve older adults with intention. And what Innovations in Aging did in 2016 was we brought an age-friendly designation to the city of Colorado Springs. And what that means is the city of Colorado Springs wants to serve aging with intention. So who here is aging? Yes, we are all growing up and growing older together in Pikes Peak region. So we serve everyone in Pikes Peak region to make sure that this is a place where we can grow older comfortably. The Age-Friendly Network is made up of over 700 communities in the United States, and Colorado Springs is considered a leader in age-friendly design by the Age-Friendly Network in the United States. We are the community's leading partner for this initiative, primarily working to convene stakeholders, listen to problems and opportunities for older adults, design creative solutions, and then bring it back around and make sure that the work that we've done has been impactful, adjusting and going back into the process. I'm so glad this picture pulled up. So, what is age-friendly? What does that mean? I spend a lot of my time explaining age-friendly and telling people about how this mission serves them, no matter how old they are. And my favorite example of age-friendly design is the kindergarten chair. So if anyone has been back to their own kindergarten classroom, it may have shocked you, as it shocked me, how small the chairs are. But of course they're small because they are for kindergartners. And we don't ask kindergartners to sit in a chair that's designed for an 18-year-old man who is about to graduate from high school. The school system anticipates the growth of children, and it provides them not just a chair, but a comfortable place to sit. Something else that we don't do is we don't ask a 5th grader to call the principal and say, "Oh, excuse me, my chair is too small. I'm in 5th grade now. Can I please have a smaller chair?" We anticipate that need and we provide it. And yet, once we graduate from high school, we sort of hang a sign on people that says you're an adult, and we say goodbye forever and good luck. But 20 is not 40, is not 60, is not 80. So what we want at Innovations in Aging is we don't want for anyone to ever have to call the mayor and say, "I can't get to my doctor's appointment because I can't use the bus because my walker won't go down the aisle." Or "I can't go to the park with my grandchildren because I can't step off the curb because it's 6 inches tall." So at Innovations in Aging, we work to anticipate the needs of everyone as they age to design a community that serves all age groups. We want the experience of aging from 20 to 80 to be as seamless as it is from 8 to 18. So how do we do that? We have served this mission in Colorado Springs by developing multiple sustainable programs that serve older adults in Colorado Springs for the past 5 years. Oh, yay, some of those are listed here. They just popped up. So these are just some of the sustainable programs that we've designed over the years. I'd like to highlight the Age-Friendly Business Designation, which was created in partnership with the Better Business Bureau Bureau of Southern Colorado. And what this does is it provides a framework for businesses who want to serve older adults intentionally in their space. We also just concluded a collaborative grant called the Comprehensive Senior Assistance Program. There's some more information provided to the commissioners in the packet that you received this morning. We completed it with NAMI, Silver Key, and the CARES program in Colorado Springs. And this grant showed, the results of this work showed a financial benefit to taxpayers and improved health outcomes following preventative mental health care for older adults living in isolation during COVID. What else have we done in Colorado Springs? We have shown impactful and economic impact for the money that we've spent on these programs. We've returned both social and economic benefit to the city during our 5-year strategic age-friendly program. For those who are not familiar, a social return on investment is a method to measure impact for stakeholders in a community, and this includes both social and economic factors. The measure identifies how effectively our nonprofit used our resources to create value for the community. We contracted with the National Institute for Social Impact based in Colorado Springs for this social return on investment. And there's a lot of information on this slide, but what I think is most important, the best take-home message, is that this information shows that for every dollar spent by Innovations in Aging in their first 5 years, we were able to return $3.23 of economic value to local stakeholders, and that includes taxpayers. Possibly the best story of what we've done, though, is the human impact. A lot of our work involves partnering with larger organizations who serve older adults, but I had the opportunity this spring to be present for one of our digital access initiatives. In partnership with the Lida Hill Foundation, we were able to provide laptops to low-income seniors living in low-income housing in Colorado Springs and partner them with high school students who taught them how to use the computer to get things done, like ordering off of Amazon, logging onto their email, attending telehealth visits. And one of the greatest things, besides everyone having a wonderful time gathering in these events, was one of the older adults told me that she was so happy that she could help a high school student get the volunteer hours that they needed to graduate from high school. So it is really a two-way street with the intergenerational connections that we're building with the work that we've done in Colorado Springs. Why this work matters. I probably don't have to tell anyone in this room that we are getting a boom of baby boomers turning 65. Colorado is aging quickly. El Paso County is growing quickly, and by 2030, it is estimated that 1 in 4 adults in El Paso County will be over age 65. That is a huge number of people in our community, and it's a very large percentage of the people who live here. So it's important that we focus on this demographic. Another reason why our work matters specifically at Innovations in Aging is because aging impacts the community in a wide range of areas. These bubbles here, these circles, represent the 8 domains of livability in the age-friendly framework. The age-friendly framework tells us that if we want a community that serves older adults, we need to focus on transportation, healthcare, housing, parks, businesses, workforce. It is not possible for one person to be an expert in all of these areas. So what Innovations in Aging is able to do is we serve the community by convening these experts. We are able to bring people to the table who are able to make changes in these domains and give them the lens for serving older adults. And something that's really important about the work that we do is that these domains don't always overlap, but we'll benefit as a community if people work together. And the best example that I have of this, of how these domains work together to serve older adults, is we serve housing. And when I talk to people about what we do, sometimes people will say to me, yes, you want housing for older adults. And we do. We want affordable, accessible housing for older adults where they can age in place. But we also serve workforce. We also serve healthcare. And if we don't have affordable and accessible housing for young families, then we don't have healthcare workers in El Paso County to serve the needs of older adults when they are sick. So what we're able to do is bring these domains together, bring these experts together to serve aging comprehensively. These are the 5 domains of livability within the age-friendly framework that we'll be focusing on in the next 5-year strategic plan, starting this summer. With the support of the city, we'll be applying for another 5-year-long age-friendly designation for the city of Colorado Springs. And we would love to have the support of the county to also apply for an age-friendly county designation for the next 5 years, in order to be able to bring our programs, our economic impact, and the human impact to more local communities in the county. We're positioned for success expanding into the county through alignment with other civic organizations, including the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments and the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging. We anticipate connections with chambers of commerce throughout the county in support of age-friendly business development, collaboration with county-wide public health initiatives, and working with university programs such as the JAWS program at UCCS, which is focused on bolstering the healthcare workforce. We also are positioned to walk alongside county initiatives as we expand age-friendly Pikes Peak to include not only Colorado Springs, but also El Paso County. We want to be a partner with you to provide essential public services to the Pikes Peak region in support of residents, businesses, and communities for everyone who grows up and grows older with us here in the Pikes Peak region. So I've told you who we are, Innovations in Aging. I've told you what we do, age-friendly design. And in closing, as we look towards an age-friendly designation in El Paso County, I want to be clear that age-friendly designation is not one size fits all. It is a framework for how to serve older adults in our community. At Innovations in Aging, we know that Fountain is not Falcon, and Monument is not Green Mountain Falls. So we want to bring age-friendly design to communities throughout the county to serve their unique needs and opportunities for the people who are growing older there, just like we have done already and will continue to do in Colorado Springs. We know that what is good for Colorado Springs may not fit the needs of Calhan, and it's not about just giving every community the same kindergarten chair. We want to give everyone a comfortable place to sit. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Thank you for that presentation. We look forward to seeing great outcomes and continuing to partner with you in your work. Okay, item number 8.
Item number 8 is public comment on items not scheduled on the agenda. This is the public's opportunity to speak on an item not scheduled on today's agenda. And Madam Chair, I don't believe we had anyone sign in ahead of time.
Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda? Please come forward. You can sign in and state your name, and your 3 minutes will begin.
Thank you for this opportunity to talk with all of you about concerns on my mind. I'm Joan Stang. I live in Manitou. I've got 2 questions for you. El Paso County has had the highest roadway fatalities the last 2 years, even higher than Denver. That's a shameful statistic for us. Why can't we create a Vision Zero Safe Systems Approach Plan to address escalating roadway deaths? It's not slowing down, folks. We need some help here. Second question I have, what are each of you doing regarding public safety for people outside of cars. Stan, I know you've gotten on a bike with me before, so you know that perspective. Consider the recent death of a 17-year-old foreign exchange student at Doherty High School. Also consider 9-year-old Marie Lee, who was hit and killed by a driver while she was playing on her toy scooter on the evening of April 11th. That was just this month. Why do families who have lost loved ones have to beg and plead for safer routes to school, slower speeds in neighborhoods where our children should be able to play outdoors without getting killed? And why should we have to continue to advocate for safer infrastructure for people who choose to use transportation modes other than cars? I also ask, why do we have a culture where elderly are forced to drive beyond years that they should be driving, such as the elderly gentleman who killed cyclist, Army and Iraq veteran Peter Beam along Highway 24 while he was approaching Mark Shuffle on the morning of May 27th, 2021 at 5:50 in the morning. I just ask you, please consider saving lives. One of you just mentioned that we should be caring more about our children. Well, let's start caring about our kids and our families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda? Thank you, ma'am. State your name and sign in.
Hi, my name is Catherine Chukas, and I'm a District 3 resident living in Northwest Colorado Springs. I don't come down this way this much because of the construction on 30th Street. Those of us who live north of Garden of the Gods Road, we lost our shortcut to come down here. After last week's meeting, I did want to make a few comments about redistricting to address some of the comments made by commissioners after public comment. I also have an ask about documentation for the clerk of the board. If my time allows, I'll also give some comments about city residents in District 3. Last week, during the time of the commissioners' comments, I felt there were some knowledge gaps that were coming out in verbal comments from the commissioners. Some of these could be because you're new to redistricting. However, because the 5 of you are going to be the redistricting commission, I want to point out these knowledge gaps for your benefits. A few commissioners talked about voters and precincts. Let's remember that redistricting is about an equal division of residents, residents being children, residents being non-voters, residents being non-citizens. Districts are meant to have equal populations, not equal sizes of voters. Precincts are a unit of the county to have equal number of voters in each unit and probably harken back to a time when we didn't have an all mail-out election. I'm happy to talk about precincts with any of you. I know a lot about them, but again, that's of little consequence to the mandate of redistricting. Equality of residents is your mandate. One commissioner suggested that the 2021 Independent Redistricting Commission divided up Green Mountain Falls. In fact, none of the 3 finalized maps is the town of Green Mountain Falls divided. If you're curious about the maps, you can still Google the word Colorado Redistricting 2021, and there are easy to use interactive maps as well as a lot of analysis. And I think this is going to be a good model for the public-facing website that the staff will be creating. When I made a comment last week about using the state Senate maps as a starting point, I take offense that one of the commissioners said that they were designed by Democrats. Anyone who is familiar with the process for state Senate redistricting knows that the 2 commission members who mapped out El Paso County aren't from the area, and they weren't part of the Democratic Party. The reason I suggested this was because these maps do not violate the Voting Rights Act. Yes, you have to deal with the fact that District 35 only has 60,000 residents in El Paso County, not 160,000, but it's a good starting point for not violating federal law. My comment for the clerk of the board is that the PowerPoint where the attorneys outline details you approved is not easy to find on the board's agenda website. The attachments don't seem to have the PowerPoint, so the only way to read it is to rewatch the video, and I'm hoping that can be fixed shortly because some of us process information differently. I'm not sure how much time I still have. Okay, with 30 seconds, I want to talk about the northwest side of Colorado Springs. you know, again, I've lived up there for a lot. There's an ugly quarry that saved our neighborhood on a Tuesday night from the Waldo Canyon fire. So I have a love-hate relationship with that. A lot of people who live in Northwest Colorado Springs haven't lived there that long and they have no memory of it. I also say our love-hate relationship though is with vehicles. You see, we're a neighborhood of biking. This is where USA Cycling is. This is where road cycling routes are. And it's gonna be phenomenal once 2A is finished and West Woodman Road will have a bike lane. But right now it's dangerous and people are dying. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, anyone online? Okay. Item number 9.
Item number 9 is the proclamation recognizing period of Hispanic commemoration. Lejenius Gonzalez Jr., Commissioner, Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we do have representatives from El Cinco de Mayo Inc. here, if anybody would like to come up. So I move to approve a proclamation recognizing Periodo de Conmemoración Hispana, a period of Hispanic commemoration. Whereas people of Mexican and Hispanic heritage proudly celebrate Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, a day of great historical significance which symbolizes Mexico's struggle and triumph over foreign domination. And whereas Cinco de Mayo was the date of the famous Battle of Puebla, which resulted in the defeat of the imperialist French army by a Mexican army that had just come together in the spirit of unity. And whereas Cinco de Mayo has become a day of celebration for all Hispanic citizens in Colorado, commemorating their proud history, culture, and heritage. And whereas Cinco de Mayo represents to the Hispanic community throughout the United States a spirit of unity and celebration of democracy and equality. And whereas the Battle of Puebla on May 5th, 1862, bears testimony to the resourcefulness, honor, and determination of the Mexican Hispanic people. And whereas all El Paso County residents are encouraged to join together in the annual celebration of Cinco de Mayo with events, entertainment, and displays, including the annual Fiesta Car Show at Memorial Park on April 29 and the Banquet Gala on May 6, 2023. And whereas scholarship money raised for students throughout El Paso County by El Cinco de Mayo Inc. will be presented during a Scholarship Awards Banquet Gala on the evening of May 6th at the Creekside Event Center. Now therefore, the Board of El Paso County Commissioners hereby proclaims May 1st through May 6th, 2023 as Periodo de Conmemoración Hispana, period of Hispanic commemoration, and urges all citizens to celebrate the proud Hispanic heritage that is an integral part of Colorado. On this 25th day of April 2023 at Colorado Springs, Colorado, the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado, Cami Bremer, Chair, Carrie Geithner, Vice Chair, Lojenius Gonzalez Jr., Stan Vandenwerf, and Holly Williams, members, and attested to by Steve Schleicher, County Clerk and Recorder.
Second. Thank you for being here with us today. You are welcome to have some comments, and we'd love to hear from you
Okay.
regarding this proclamation.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez, for reading that proclamation, and thank you to the Board of County Commissioners for this opportunity regarding Cinco de Mayo with the proclamation. My name is Carmen Abeda, and this is Linda Jaworski, Gina Sandoval, and Cindy Archuleta, and we're here representing El Cinco de Mayo Inc., which is a nonprofit organization. And everyone on that organization is a volunteer. So none of our money that we raise goes to anything else except for the programs and scholarships. Our mission is to serve, to share our culture with the Colorado Springs community and the surrounding area. And Commissioner Gonzalez touched on all of this. We also raise money for scholarships. And over the last few years, we have raised over $400,000 and awarded over 300 scholarships to underserved, underrepresented students. This Saturday, we are going to have our Fiesta Car Show. It's going to be held at Memorial Park. You're all invited to come out and share with us. We'll have vendors, entertainment, and a car show, of course. That's very important. And so come out. It's a full day of lots of fun, and we're hoping for some good weather. And please hope along with us. We need all the help we can get. Especially, I think we're supposed to be having some stormy snow tomorrow. I will have Cindy Archuleta come up, and she's going to be talking a little about the gala.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting us to come over and share with you our great culture. On May 6th, we're going to be having our gala down at the Creekside Event Center at 5515 Palmer Park Boulevard. And our guest speaker is from Greeley, Colorado. We're kind of trying to keep our guest speakers here, and also our bands or whatever that we can here in Colorado if possible. His name is Damien Cordova. He's from Greeley. He'll be our keynote speaker for the gala. And our gala will start, doors open about 4 o'clock. We have a social hour for about from 4 to 4:45. We have a wonderful mariachi band called Phoenix Benavides y los Diamantes. She's from Pueblo. She's, I think, 6, 7 years old. She's awesome. I encourage you to go and see her sing with her mariachi band that her dad formed. And then we have the dance from 7 to 11. We have a band, Gonzalo, from Las Vegas, New Mexico. So we encourage you to come up and dance with us. It'll be a great time. And we have our tables. They're $1,000 for a table of 10, or $100 per person for the gala and the dance. If you don't want to go to the dinner, we invite you to come to the dance as well. And it's $30 per person currently. And the day of, after Friday, late afternoon, it'll go up to $40 at the door. So please join us. We will show you a great time. Okay? All right. Thank you for having us.
I did want to mention one other thing. I want to publicly thank Commissioner Gonzalez. He has contributed scholarship. And so every year, for the last 2 or 3 years, we have given scholarship to a student in his name. So thank you very much. And we look forward. I know some of you are coming. I've seen your names. And we'll see you there on Saturday, the 6th.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from up here? Commissioner Vanderweer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to thank all of you for the great work that you've been doing year after year after year. And, you know, I guess I'd say, like, for my personally, I just think the car show is awesome. But I do really, really appreciate the scholarship program that you have, really helping kids, you know, find a way forward in their lives. And that's just really fantastic. So I really do appreciate that. And I just want you to know that both my wife, Betsy, and I are going to be at the gala. So we look forward to seeing you there and enjoying some camaraderie with all of you and recognizing the great work that you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams.
And I would just echo Commissioner Vanderwerf's comments. It's wonderful that you do this every year on a volunteer basis to celebrate the culture and the community and the history, and especially being able to help children with scholarships is really rewarding. The car show always sounds fun, but so does that mariachi band. So thank you.
I would just like to say thank you for being here today. I'm glad that we could pass this proclamation for you, assuming that will pass here in a few minutes when we vote. But, you know, I think what the value you add in sharing your culture is impressive and amazing. I have a son who attends Colorado International Language Academy, and many of you and those who support your organization ensure that my school-age child is learning about cultures in addition to his immersion language. So I appreciate the fact that just the value you add to our community, and glad we could provide this forum today. I wish you all the success in an event, and I'm sure that Commissioner Gonzalez will probably be spotted on the dance floor. Commissioner Geiner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for the work you do in our community. It is one of the great things of America that we get to be the big melting pot, and we get to have so many wonderful experiences and learn from all of the wonderful cultures that exist here in America. So I'm grateful for that. I unfortunately do not have the dance skills of my colleague here, but absolutely grateful for the work that you do in our community and supporting our young people as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks again for coming out today. I don't know if I have the great dancing skills, but I will always try. And so you will see me out there. I did catch. I don't know if we have to re-sign this because sign this day in. We signed these beforehand in Colorado Springs. We have to do a new one that says in Manitou Springs because we actually done this day in Manitou Springs. But the great work, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the several decades that the organization has been doing. And I've gotten to work with them for so many years now. Just great things. And I'll just tell this one story because I have sponsored a couple of the scholarships the last several years. But 2 years ago, when we did the later dinner, I believe, where there's another reception where they get to meet the recipients as well. A lot of people know I was a former teacher for a little bit, and I still substitute teach every now and then. And the recipient that received the one that I had sponsored, we were getting our photo together, and she's like, "Mr. Gonzalez, are you a substitute teacher?" And I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "I had you in one of my classes," and so that was really, really good thing that I remember. And I just appreciate all the great work you do for our community, and thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Excellent. We'd love to take this opportunity to recess briefly and get a photo, and we should vote first. That has been moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That does pass 5-0. And at this point, we would love to have a photo with you, and we'll be in recess while we do that. Okay, we will call this meeting of the Board of County Commissioners back to order, and we are now on item number 10.
Item number 10 is the proclamation recognizing April as National County Government Month. Carrie Geithner, Vice Chair, Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. I would like to move this proclamation recognizing April as National County Government Month. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties serve more than 300 million Americans with programs and services to create and sustain healthy, safe, vibrant, and resilient communities, and whereas counties are responsible for 45% of all public roadways and 40% of bridges, and county-owned facilities, including jails and courthouses, are critical to preserve public health, protect public safety, administer justice, assure fair and honest elections, manage the human services safety net, safeguard public records, and much more. And whereas El Paso County is roughly the size of the state of Delaware and is the most populous county in Colorado, with an estimated population of more than 750,000 residents. The county encompasses 8 incorporated cities and towns, and El Paso County Public Services maintains more than 2,100 miles of paved and gravel roads and more than 260 bridges. And whereas El Paso County continues to be dedicated to fulfilling its core values of service, accountability, collaboration, trust, and transparency, and whereas there are more than 100,000 veterans, families, and dependents in the Pikes Peak region, and in 2022, the El Paso County Veterans Service Office completed 9,337 client appointments. And whereas the El Paso County Department of Human Services is tasked to protect the most vulnerable residents in the community, responding to nearly 21,432 reports of child abuse and neglect in 2022, while Adult Protection Services handled 3,388 reports of adult and elder abuse and neglect, and the Food Assistance Program served an average of 73,061 clients per month. And whereas El Paso County is hosting a number of special events in April highlighting ways county government helps improve the community, including the Clean Sweep Household Hazardous Waste event on April 7th and the Great American Cleanup on April 15th. And whereas recent and ongoing improvement projects include an upgrade to the county website addressing a backlog of needed road and bridge work, emergency management and disaster preparedness efforts, public buildings, parks, and initiatives to assure the integrity of elections and safeguard public records. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties, NACO, has observed National County Government Month as an opportunity for all counties to actively promote their innovative and cost-effective programs and services so the citizens they serve will have a better understanding of why counties matter. Now, therefore, the Board of El Paso County Commissioners hereby proclaims April 2023 as National County Government Month in El Paso County and urges citizens to recognize and learn about the important role that county infrastructure, including transportation, facilities, parks, and information technology plays in enhancing the quality of life for citizens and keeping counties safe and secure. Done this 25th day of April 2023 at Colorado Springs, Colorado. Signed, Cami Bremer, Chair, Carrie Geithner, Vice Chair, Lohinas Gonzalez Jr., Stan Vanderwerf, and Holly Williams, Member, and attested to by Steve Schleicher, County Clerk and Recorder.
Second.
That has been moved and seconded. I understand that we have some of our directors of departments here to speak today. We have Crystal Latier with Economic Development, Kevin Maston with Public Works, and Pete Carey with Community Services. Ms. Latier.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board and our community regarding National County Government Month. As was stated, my name is Crystal Latier, and I am the Executive Director of Economic Development here at El Paso County. In El Paso County, we really take a holistic approach to economic development, meaning that we focus on 3 main areas: business incentives, affordable housing initiatives, as well as community development initiatives. Annually, we put together what is known as our annual accomplishment infographics. These are high-level, tangible outcomes that your county services and programs provide to your community. So we're just going to highlight a few of those today. Please note that these are on the table up front for anyone in the audience. They've been passed out to the board and commission, as well as this lives on our website, so easily accessible to all. As mentioned in our business incentive programming, we operate the state tax credit program known as the Enterprise Zone program. This is a state tax credit program that we administer both for El Paso and Teller County and does great work for businesses in the area. Your board has also participated in tax increment financing requests this last year, as well as some agreements for the commercial aeronautical zone and a revolving business loan fund. As many will remember, the El Paso County Board of Commissioners put out an additional $30 million in relief funding for small businesses and business organizations that were impacted by COVID-19. Outside of that programming, we operate a business loan fund that allows businesses to access capital to grow and prosper in our region. The next accomplishment infographic to denote, sorry if someone could scroll for me to the, oh, thank you. Perfect. So the Community Development Block Grant Program is probably the largest program we have in our Community Initiatives Division of our department. This is a fairly flexible federally funded program. El Paso County receives about $1 million a year and works with a Community Development Advisory Board to make recommendations on how to put this great federal funding to work in our community. I will highlight, since we're in Manitou Springs has been the beneficiary of this funding, particularly for ADA accessibility improvements. So we heard some concerns earlier today and know that this federal funding has been pledged and done some great work in regards to ADA for sidewalks and street improvements near and around this, not only the City Hall, but the school. And maybe many of you already used the restrooms today. Those were CDBG funded for ADA improvements. So great things happening, not only here in Manitou Springs, but around the community for community development. And lastly, just wanted to highlight, we also act as staff to a very non-traditional housing authority, which is known as the El Paso County Housing Authority. Why I say it's non-traditional is because we don't own any housing, nor do we operate any housing choice vouchers. Instead, we really act as a housing financing authority, and as you'll see in the infographic in front of you right now, provide low-interest loans to multifamily developers that are developing multifamily units, affordable units, as well as operate the region's largest down payment assistance program. So just great programming coming out of El Paso County that is truly impacting our community in positive ways, and wanted to say thank you for that opportunity to share a little bit about some of the programs we have in our community. Additionally, being with the county for 13 years, I'm a county girl through and through, and just want to say how much I appreciate local control, local government. I feel we're the closest to the people. And so we know that the decisions that we're making with public policy impacts families, our children, our neighbors. And so great work happening here. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Good morning, honorable commissioners, Manitou Springs dignitaries, and community members. My name is Pete Carey. I'm the executive director of Justice Services for El Paso County. It's really a pleasure to be here and give you just a couple quick facts about what my department does and some of the things that we're most proud of. I want to talk for just a second about pretrial services for El Paso County. Every single day, they receive a docket from the El Paso County Jail of between 30 and 60 people who have been arrested the night before for various felonies. And what they do is they put together an information packet for the bench for the 4th Judicial District that lets them make informed decisions on whether or not those people should be granted PR bonds and let into our community until their day in court. So really, really important work. Just to give you an example of the quantity of work that this small but powerful group does is just in the first quarter, they provided over 2,300 background information packets to the bench of people waiting for their day in court. If a defendant is granted a PR bond, there's another group of people that work in justice services that supervise them, make sure they show up for drug testing, and make sure they come into their day in court. They're also the ones that if the person doesn't play by the rules, they make sure that the court's aware of it in case there's a bond revocation. Also like to talk for just a minute about community corrections. El Paso County oversees the contract for 2 vendors that provide about 500 beds to community corrections clients. These people come from a transition basis from Department of Corrections, and they're also being diverted from prison by our local courts. So again, this is important work. What's most important about that is local control, making sure that we establish the rules and procedures through contract, that these people also play by the rules. And we also want to ensure public safety. We work closely with the courts, Department of Corrections, Department of Criminal Justice, service providers, and other stakeholders. And while we receive about $12 million from the state, it's very, very important that local control is exerted over these programs. We also provide support to the local Community Corrections Board, who review 100 of these clients a month to decide whether or not they should go to community corrections. It is truly the hardest working board I've ever been associated with, and I might add it's a volunteer board. So every single week, they look at 25 cases for 100 a month. Probably what we're most proud of in community corrections, in the last year, we've developed a way for victims to provide their story to this Community Corrections Board through a video impact statement. This saves a lot of wear and tear, stress, and anxiety on the victims, gives them a loud voice during the process, and makes a huge impact. In fact, we've submitted that program to NACO for an achievement award, which I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Finally, I'd like to talk just for a second about the El Paso County Office of Veteran Services. This is another small but mighty group that has 11 employees, both at their East Side office as well as the Mount Carmel Veteran Service Center. El Paso County is home to 93 veterans, 24% of Colorado's entire veteran population. We serve veterans by helping them navigate the complex federal system of Bureau of Veterans Affairs benefits programs. On a monthly basis, this group handles over 8,300 contacts through office drop-ins, scheduled appointments, phone calls, and email inquiries. Here's a statistic we're very, very proud of. In El Paso County, when a veteran applies for veterans benefits through the VA Disability Veterans Benefits, they receive an annual award on average of $9,297. When they come into our office and use our services, that jumps to $17,954, a gain of over $8,657 by using our office and our expertise. We're really, really proud of that. All in, El Paso County veterans receive $864 million in VA compensation for disability claims, much of which goes back into our local economy. There's been recent changes in laws that give our veterans benefits through the PACT Act, and just bring in some new challenges, but actually some new opportunities for our veterans. So we continue to work with our state and federal partners, and we are now offering PACT Act briefings to get our veterans up to speed on what the new law will bring to them. I want to close by thanking the Board of County Commissioners for their unwavering support of Justice Services Department. From Commissioner Geithner's active involvement in community corrections issues, Commissioner Williams' participation in Pretrial Services Community Board, and Commissioner Gonzalez, your involvement with the Mount Carmel's Veteran Service Center. It's an honor for me to serve in this current role. I also get a lot of support from my fellow directors. In particular, El Paso County HR has been invaluable in helping me keep its staff. And I dare say I'm fast becoming one of the most loyal customers of Nikki and EPC Finance due to challenges with funding for community corrections in the last year. And she's been great to work with. So thank you very much for the support you give us.
Thank you. Mr. Maston.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and to our fellow citizens here from Manitou Springs. It's been nice to meet people from here in Manitou Springs that do great things here for the citizens of Manitou Springs. Kevin Maston, I'm the Director for the Department of Public Works for El Paso County. And I do know that every one of you, all of our commissioners, are fully aware of everything that we're doing in public works. So the comments I'm going to make today are for anybody that's online listening, anybody that watches this recording, or our fellow citizens that are here with us today. The Department of Public Works we're made up of 6 divisions. I currently have around 225 people that are working in public works. Our 6 divisions are highway, fleet, engineering, resource management, training, and customer service. And I'll talk about a little bit, just to kind of highlight a couple of things we've got with each one of these divisions. Our highway department is probably the most visible to the citizen, And we have about 125 people that work in the highway department. Highway department's responsible for all of our road maintenance, drainage maintenance, bridge maintenance, as well as snow removal, which will be happening this evening. And for anybody that's curious, we should have about 32 trucks available tonight. And then tomorrow, as the sun comes up, hopefully we'll see the sun tomorrow morning. We'll have grader operators, around 22 to 24 grader operators doing snow removal on our gravel roads tomorrow morning. The one thing I want to highlight with the highway department is we have around 4,400 lane miles that we maintain. And if you divide that equally amongst all of the employees that we have in our highway department, each employee represents 35 lane miles. And I'm going to talk about why that's important here in just a minute when I talk about our guiding values that we have. Our fleet department maintains all of the vehicles that we use in El Paso County with the exception of the sheriff's department, and that's a little over 1,200 vehicles, plus anything with a motor on it. If it's weed eaters, snow blowers that people use, lawn mowers that we have around the county, all of those are maintained by our fleet department. Engineering, led by our county engineer, Josh Palmer. The way engineering is set up is we've got basically split into two different sections for engineering. It's basically before the county owns it and after the county owns it. Before we own it, our engineers work closely with commercial development, real estate development to make sure things are being built the way they need to be built. And then they'll go through a final acceptance phase before we actually take responsibility for it. And then we also have the capital projects, larger projects that we have in the county. That'll be the other half of engineering. There's way more that they do, and this is obviously going to be very, very high level for what I'm talking about here. Resource management handles all of our money, supplies, training. When I started with the county in 2019, we had 2 people in our training department. We had 1 person that was full-time. We had another person that was part-time at 20 hours a week. We had no training syllabuses. We had no training program that was formalized. And since that time, our training program has increased. We have about 6 people working in training right now. We now operate a federally directed CDL training program internally in Public Works. And we also work with the city and other various entities in the local area and helping them with their CDL requirements as well. But we have formalized all training that we have in Public Works. Then finally, our customer service. Whenever we have citizens that have concerns, we have a customer service team that works directly with them to find solutions to any issue that they may bring to us. The thing I want to highlight here is basically our guiding values. We've got 6 guiding values that we use in Public Works. It's safety, teamwork, respect, integrity, value, and excellence. Safety is our priority without compromise for everything that we do every day. Teamwork, we're united by one mission and one vision, and that's to serve the citizens of El Paso County. Respect is that every person in our department is equal. There's no person that's more important than the other. Everybody is of the same value as we provide this service to the citizen. Integrity, we consistently provide responsible and ethical service. We will not tolerate any sort of lack of integrity amongst our folks that work in Public Works. And that's extremely important to us. Value, and this is what I really want to highlight, is the innovative solutions, because when you look at the number of people that we do have, that requires us to be innovative. We have to take every dollar and stretch it as absolutely as far as we can. And our engineers, again, led by Josh Palmer, are finding innovative solutions, working with our highway department, everything we can do to stretch the dollar as far as we can, get the greatest value to our citizens, and get our roads to where they should be, that the citizens deserve. We're working on that every single day to make that happen. And then finally, excellence. We hold ourselves to a very high standard. We want to execute on the details, and we take pride in our work. Every person on our team, like I said, is extremely valuable. Our newest employees have some of the greatest ideas on how we can do things better, all up to our most senior people. And also, I do believe we have the longest term employee in Public Works. We have a person that has been with El Paso County. This year will be 44 years. One of our grader operators, and he started when he was 22 years old, and he's been with us ever since. So, and I don't know that another department has anybody that has a longer term person than that person that we have. But it lets you know how great it is to work here as well. That's kind of in a nutshell. There is one just quick thing that I got to thank Jack Ladley, my deputy. He put a couple little statistics on here. It was already mentioned about our county being larger than the state of Delaware. It's also larger than the state of Rhode Island. And if you take our lane miles, it's the same distance as going from Colorado Springs direct to Belfast, Ireland. So a little trivia for you there to let you know what we're actually working on. So pending any questions, that's all I have for today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Are there any comments from anyone in the public on this item? Any online? All right, commissioners.
Wow. That was really, really impressive. Personally, I enjoy working with every department head in the county as well as all of our employees. We're kind of a family at the county. We like to proudly proclaim that we are a little bit less formal than the city of Colorado Springs. And so we work hard to work together and get things done, but I'm just really impressed by the 3 departments we had here today. I know I went over to visit that pretrial services department, and they're in as early as 5 a.m. in the morning and out fairly late at night. I will not say what hour for their safety reasons, because we keep a close eye on our employees' safety, but they work long hours and double shifts, and they do a lot of good work for a community that we serve. You know, that's not as exciting as watching our roads being built, and I always just get a kick out of seeing our roads being built too, or being fixed. And one of the fascinating facts is we use beet juice for something in our roads, and we have another vegetable we use. And so we do look for innovative solutions. And we actually have 2 Josh Palmers that work at El Paso County, and the county engineer is the one I have in my cell phone. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd like to thank those that came up to talk a little bit about the county services, economic development, just really great work. And, I think a lot of the citizens in El Paso County actually have no idea all of the things that we do to try to work on attainable housing and just so many other programs. And I would encourage you, hopefully, for those that are present, got a little bit of a taste of that, but you would be encouraged to maybe interact with us more and learn more about some of those things that we do that, to be quite honest, just basically a lot of people don't even know about it. And I appreciate, Pete, the comments that you made about justice services. Great work going on there, really just trying to figure out, and we have actually some ongoing great programs about making sure that people that kind of get involved in the justice system find a good pathway out where they the amount of incarceration is limited or maybe 0 because there's an alternative court. And really, I mean, the key to all of that is really just about rehabilitation, just helping them see how to become a good citizen living in the community here. And I do appreciate, as a disabled veteran, the work that our Veteran Service Office does. For DPW, just awesome work. I think I want to meet this guy that's been running a grader for 44 years. That's amazing. That's a real dedication. But, for our citizens, you might not know that when we have a snowstorm, we put more than 30 vehicles on the road to plow and take care of ensuring that we still have access for people to get where they need to go, whatever that might be. In some cases, it's quite an emergency. And, we've got so many other things the county does. Our Department of Human Services does great work over there. We've got a planning department that deals with a lot of the growth challenges. We've got a parks department that has delivered, continues to maintain our parks, and has, during COVID, delivered 2 brand new parks in El Paso County, for those of you that don't know. And I'll just finish with, there is some ways for citizens to reach out to us. Say, for example, if you are aware of a service that you might need, this could be, for example, identifying a pothole on a county road. We have a cell phone app called EPC Citizens Connect. I would encourage you to take a look at it and take a look at the services that are available on there, because it's more than just potholes. There's a lot in that, but it'd be great for you to go online and take a look at that. And one other one, which I think is important about emergency management, is peak alerts. And that's something that El Paso County and the municipalities in here, and also Teller County, participates in. And that's an opportunity for you to receive emergency notices like fire notices or pre-evacuation notices, things like that. I'll just make the point, I think that's a very important thing to be aware of if you live in Manitou Springs. So peak alerts is another one to take a look at. So EPC Citizens Connect and peak alerts. And also, thank you very much to the great county staff for all the great work they do on behalf of our citizens. Thanks.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to thank everybody and the great work that our staff and all our employees do, and very glad we were able to do this every year and highlight all the great work that they do for us. Thank you, and for our community. Thanks.
And as is our tradition, I will let Commissioner Geithner finish up with the comments here before we vote. Thank you to those who are here today. You heard only three of many departments that the county is responsible for. And at the end of the day, we could talk about excellent programs, excellent departments, and all the great work we do. And that's partly what this proclamation is for, raising awareness of that in our community. But at the end of the day, it's about people. It's about the people that we serve, in helping them go about their daily lives as county residents. It's about the 2,800 employees of El Paso County who have chosen a career in serving their own community. And I'm incredibly just proud of all of those people, all of those programs. And we certainly got wonderful highlights from three of our departments today. I appreciate your commitment, your presentations. A funny story about this infographic: last week at the Housing Authority Trust Fund Board, which I serve as the liaison to, there was some discussion about how we could get out the information that you'll find on the third page of this. And I said, what if we could do an infographic? And Crystal said, it's already created. I'll publish it next week. But that's just an example of our great employees, of the great programming, and the pride that they're taking in providing information and services to our citizens. I couldn't be prouder to be a resident of this county, and I couldn't be prouder of our leaders. I would be remiss if I didn't also include our county administrator, and our other appointee, our county attorney. And then I believe that Administrative Professionals Week the day is tomorrow, technically, but so proud of everybody. It takes every single one of us working as a team to continue to deliver those services. Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you. My colleagues have said it very well. There are a few additional things. When I first was elected to this office, there's a lot to take in. And so April rolled around a few short months after I was sworn in, and I found out it was County Government Month. And I was really excited about that. What are we doing for County Government Month? And so it's been one of my goals over the last couple of years to continue to grow what we do during County Government Month. And that's because I do think it's important that citizens know what we do for them in our community, that we are transparent and accessible. And so I'm excited that we are doing this. It is no accident that we are doing this proclamation as we are on the road. That was also a big thing that I was excited to see, that we are getting out there and getting more accessible for the public to learn these things about what we can do and what we do in our community. For many of my constituents, they have to drive over an hour to come to a county commission meeting, and that is why I'm so excited about this. This is a great opportunity. There's so many things that have been said, and there's still so many more that could be said about county government and the kind of programming that we have. Huge thanks to those directors that came. We just have phenomenal folks in the county. Again, as I came on board as the only new commissioner a few years ago, we had a lot of change going on. We had a lot of retirements, and that can create some nervousness. Where are we going to go from here? What is this change going to give? And I could not be more thrilled with the direction that the county has taken. I am so truly proud of the changes that are being made, the advancements that are being made. We have some of the most amazing staff around. Pete, over in Justice Services, so grateful for the time that you took. That was one of our big changes, to take that to a separate department. The work that has been done there is just incredible. The tremendous changes in public works. It's one of my favorite places to visit in the county. So many of my constituents work for public works, and the work that we're doing there, I have a friend who has been out of town for several months traveling, retired, and travels in his RV. And he came by my house. When he came back into town, he said, "I can't believe how much our roads have improved while I was away." And that was really exciting to hear and see that folks in our community are seeing the changes. They're seeing the work that is being put in. So super grateful for that over in Public Works. And as our chair said, the huge, tremendous changes and the positive direction. I say we're growing up as a county. We're starting to act like a big county. We're taking on the leadership role that we should be taking on as the largest county in Colorado, and that is so much in part to our county administrator that came on shortly after I was sworn in as well. He does just a phenomenal job. And our county attorney as well, who, again, lots of shifting going on. But I absolutely know that the credit of what is happening here is large part to both of you, and I'm super grateful for that. There's so many great folks at the county, but Vernon Stewart, our communications director, huge thank you. This big, scary, let's do commissioners on the road thing. You tell people that and they go, "Oh, that's a lot to take on the road to make sure that we can continue to have the kind of meetings that we want and broadcast and all those things." Huge thank you to Vernon and his team. Also, I don't want to say new at the county anymore, new-ish. You've been here less time than me, so that makes it ish on that. And just the work towards, that's what county government is about to me, is that transparency, getting that information out, and we couldn't do that without Vernon. They're not here today, but our government affairs team, the amount of work that has gone into us being the leader in the state and working with other governments and on legislation, that amount of work is tremendous, and has also been a huge, I think, leap forward in the last couple of years. So I could go on, but just thank you to each one of you. I know that you are committed to our community members that maybe didn't know about these services. I continue to encourage you to get involved, come to meetings. We do want to be transparent. We want you to understand what we're doing here, and we want to hear from you. Robust debate and conversation makes us all stronger, and it's important for us to continue. So as you can tell, I'm very, very excited about this and grateful for the opportunity to recognize County Government Month.
All right, that has been moved and seconded. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. And I think we'll take a brief recess, and any El Paso County staff that is in the audience, we'd love you to join us for a photo. Good morning, and I will call this meeting of the Board of County Commissioners back to order. We are now on item number 11.
Item number 11 is the called up consent calendar, and there are no items called up.
Item 12.
Item number 12 is the resolution to approve and enter into a subrecipient agreement with Care and Share Food Bank Incorporated in the amount of $1,500,000. Stacy Quiddick, Executive Director, Department of Human Services.
Ms. Quiddick.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's so nice to be here today, particularly knowing that it is a county government day. It was wonderful to be able to watch my colleagues present on that. I'm here today with a recommendation for your consideration for a subrecipient agreement with TANF funds for Care and Share in the amount of $1.5 million. I don't know if I said Stacy Quiddick, Executive Director of the Department of Human Services. So our proposal, like I said, is for $1.5 million for a community support grant going directly to Care and Share. That would be approximately $210,000 of county funds. The remaining amount would be federal funds. And the important thing that I really would like to point out is that due to the buying power of Care and Share and their ability to buy in bulk, they would be able to, the food that they would be able to buy for $1.5 million is estimated to be a value of $2.4 million if that were to be purchased just by an individual. So for $210,000 of county funds, the remaining federal funds, we would be getting $2.4 million for local children and families. The other thing I just have to mention is that at a future date, we will be asking for a transfer of TANF allocations that we have remaining to other Colorado counties in the amount of approximately $840,000. And with that, I'm open to questions.
Ms. Can I have you back up just a little bit and provide an overview of what the TANF funds are and why there's this overage and the timeline associated with very complicated funding structures?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
So TANF is Temporary Aid to Needy Families, and El Paso County Department of Human Services received an allocation, a final allocation for 22-23 in the amount of $21.1 million. Those funds, the TANF funds, are specifically for basic cash assistance for those extremely needy families that have a very low income and have children in the home. TANF dollars always have to go to households with children in the home. Besides basic cash assistance, the dollars can also be used for other programs that meet the criteria for the other programs is a household income of less than $75,000 and a child in the home. And the funds that we have that we are underexpended, which is, I'd rather be underexpended than overexpended at this point, for a multitude of reasons. Luckily, we don't have enough need for the basic cash assistance, but we have a remaining amount that we need to spend or return, sell or return, transfer to another county before June 30th. The TANF funds are on a state fiscal year, which is July 1st until June 30th. And so we have a very short amount of time to determine what the board would like to do with this remaining funds. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Williams?
And does this money, does Care and Share distribute this to other agencies?
Yes, thank you for that question. We've first met with Care and Share in mid-March because we were considering the possibility of providing these funds directly to the smaller food pantries in the community, of which there are approximately 120 plus. That includes churches and small nonprofits, schools. The work that would require for both the partnering agencies, the Department of Human Services, our finance office, and then the lack of buying power, we all came to the decision that it would be better for the community if we went straight to Care and Share. So if Care and Share is awarded these funds, they will be holding distributions that go directly to any of the food pantries that opt into the program. They are anticipating approximately 100 will opt in, and then they have 4 dates set that they would distribute food to those recipients, who will then distribute to the community, to children and families.
And I'm assuming as a part of this, that they are prepared to ensure the eligibility?
Absolutely.
That those are going to TANF eligible families?
Absolutely. That's one of the parts of the agreement, that they have to collect that data. Yes.
Any other questions? Commissioner Geithner.
I have, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did you have another question?
One more question, and I know that the federal government in March reduced payments back to the normal level, and you gave a presentation about that. Was that a 40% reduction for an average family of 4? Do you remember that number?
I don't remember. It'll be a minimum of $95 per person.
Okay.
But the percentage, I don't recall.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I really appreciate Stacy bringing this forward to us, and I know this is a little bit of a complicated one, so I want to make clear that I do appreciate the work that that you are doing on this, and that we do have somewhat of a limited time frame. But I have some concerns about this, and I've talked to the county administrator. We had some conversations in an informal meeting as well on this. But I remain concerned about the what I really see is kind of an end run around the decision that the federal government made on SNAP benefits. And these are tough conversations. These are absolutely tough conversations. But as I said just a while ago and at other meetings, we need to have tough conversations, and we need to debate ideas because it makes us better as a government. And so we know that the federal government spent, quite frankly, an insane amount of money, and that has led to inflation in our country. There are consequences for every single action, and we have to weigh all of those impacts. I asked quite a few questions, and I've been able to receive most of the information that I got, but it's been a little tough. I was still getting answers this morning, so I continue to think that we have not spent enough time on this. But one of the things I asked was how much money we have given to Care and Share over the last few years. So last year we gave $700,000. The year before that we gave $300,000. So 300, 700, $1.5 million. That is a ramping up in funds to our food bank. And of course, it's easy to say, we don't want anyone to be hungry. Of course, none of us want anyone to be hungry. It's the problem a little bit with the political climate that we're in, that, if we say something like, I'm not sure we should give this money to a food bank, we can have someone that says, well, gosh, then you must want people to be hungry. And that's not the case. But here is the reality. Studies consistently show that increase in welfare programs in our country lead to more dependence on government and ultimately are not good for people. That is my concern with what we are seeing here. The federal government, in my opinion, actually made a good decision on lowering those SNAP benefits. This isn't even a cut, really. This was let's go back to where we were before. And I think that was a wise decision. I think that's a decision that many of the commissioners supported. We sent a congressman that represents our area to the federal government, and we said, please stop spending so much. Most of us have made comments in support of that kind of decision making. It's not easy, but our congressman did that. And to make a decision like this based on at least partially that decision around SNAP does not seem like it is a responsible way for us to respond when we have asked the federal government to decrease spending in those areas. So that is a huge concern for me, that we would continue to do that. And yet we have these funds here. And so I also asked for a list of what other areas, and I know these are very complicated funding forms, which is again why I don't think we have quite spent enough time on this. But there are programs that I have questions about, whether we are using these funds for and could we use them more for. Things like prevention of out-of-wedlock pregnancies, which is a lasting and transformational goal in our community that we know benefits our families. It leads to more economic security for families. Fatherhood and two-parent family formation. All of these things, we know we have a fathering center, but we haven't fully explored, or at least I have not had the opportunity to fully explore in this short compressed time period, what other ways we might be able to support those type of things. Again, the difference between a handout, which is what a food bank is, though we sometimes do know that it is necessary, and long-term transformational change. I also, the average household family and the median income in Colorado Springs is $67,000. And if these funds, families up to $75,000 that make $75,000 are eligible for these funds, we're talking about a whole lot of people. I don't, if you are making $75,000 as a house, we know cost of living increase, we know that things are tough. But I have a hard time thinking, if that's our median income, that this is truly the very most needy in our community. I think we've expanded beyond that. I think we are in a march towards, quite frankly, socialist programs that we cannot sustain. And so again, I'm not sure that this is the best use of this without fully vetting those things. So, along with all those things, and particularly not feeling like we've really had enough time on this, that is the biggest thing that is driving me is $1.5 million is a lot of money. And it is, it's a little concerning to me that we're just not taking enough time to fully understand that. I would ask my colleagues that we spend a little more time to explore the details of this. There were other areas that we were going to look at, that we're not voting on today, but it was concerning for me to hear just this morning in conversations that we're not even sure where we're at with some of those things. Can we use them for that? So again, that just gives me a sense that we're not fully vetting this. And we're not really looking into this as deeply as we need to make a good choice. I would also say, I think that those first stage impacts to say we're feeding families, those sound like really good things, again, but it's the second and third impacts that when we don't take into consideration, start to concern me about the overall picture. It's easy to make decisions individually in a silo. But again, we have to look at that big picture. I happen to be spending some time, as I often quote Thomas Sowell, who's I think a very influential and smart economist who talks a lot about second and third impacts, and has often said in his work, well, why would politicians, why do leaders make decisions that there are studies, there's information out there that these things aren't good in the second and third impacts. And quite frankly, he said, political will is one of those things. It's difficult to make a decision that is, very, very specific around, again, do we want to give meals? Is it a choice between giving meals and not giving meals, or is there more than that? And when you have those longer term effects, it's a little more difficult to evaluate and a little more difficult to have conversations about. But I believe we're at the point in our nation where we have to have these very difficult decisions. And so I would ask my colleagues to entertain giving us a little more time to fully vet this. We do have other options. We do have the opportunity to go back and understand the services part. We have the opportunity to sell more of these funds and put some of that money back in the general fund to also support other important things that we have going on at the county. And there's been a theme in several of things. As I said, I was at a conference over the weekend. There's been a theme in the last year, is leadership and courage. And I really believe that leadership encouraged mean taking the time to fully vet things. Again, almost all of us, I know we believe in the same things. And we have said the federal government has to stop spending all of this money. And yet, as soon as the federal government makes a decision, we decide to backfill it in another way. And so I would just ask that you say, in genuine respect for my colleagues, ask that we not undermine what we asked our congressmen to go and do, and consider giving us a little more time to figure out if there are better opportunities for our residents. So I guess with that, I would move that we continue this item.
There's a motion to continue this item from Commissioner Geithner. Can I ask some clarifying questions of Ms. Quiddick? Can you did tell us that this money has to be expended by June 30? Is that?
It does.
Tell us what continuing what impacts, if any, it would have on you.
Yeah. For an agreement with an agency like Care and Share that has to buy product, the issue is that they have to have the funds, buy the product, and have the product on site. That's one of the requirements of TANF, is that the product would have to be on site before June 30th. So if we push it too far, we're going to run up against issues to where they cannot get the food here and then just have it available. For other programs, the money just has to be expended by, if you're paying for services. I think one of the challenges of looking at some of the other opportunities of building programs is there's just not enough time to build a program. It has to be something that's already existing in order to be able to commit and have it expended by the June 30th date.
Okay, and there was a reference to selling TANF to other counties. Have we explored our opportunities to do that fully?
We have, I communicated with all the counties. There are opportunities to transfer allocations.
Okay, beyond the, what, 840,000?
Yes.
Or does that 840,000 number include?
No, that is just my recommendation. We do have more that we could sell.
Okay. Mr. Waters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just reiterate a couple things. One, Commissioner Geithner is absolutely correct. I mean, we were giving information as early as this morning. TANF there's so many strings attached to TANF funding with regard to programs, the household income, with regard to children involved. It's no easy task to kind of look at all those, and so she's absolutely correct, just to reiterate that. And also reiterate, we're happy to go back and look at any other opportunities, if there are any, as far as any of those programs. So if the board chooses to continue, we will happily go back and look at all those categories, see if there's any opportunity in the time remaining between now and June 30th. And so we just want to reiterate, we're happy to do as the board wishes as far as investigating any opportunity.
I have a question.
Commissioner Williams.
So when we're talking about TANF, the Temporary Aid for Needy Families, are we still, and I know that the state of Colorado changed some of the requirements for this, but I know that when I worked at the Department of Human Services in the TANF department, most of the encouragement was to always get the parents into a job. Is that still the case?
Yes, absolutely. And we have several employment programs that we work with the clients to get them employed, get them further educated, get them into training programs. Yes.
Okay. And this particular funding is for the TANF eligible families, not necessarily for the supplemental nutritional assistance families.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too had some questions on, I've got other comments if we end up voting on this as an agenda item itself. So there was some questions about what are some of the organizations that could be asking, as we did talk about this last week, and was Care and Share the only one? If we were going to do that aspect of it, were there other organizations? And so I I didn't see a list. I don't know if there's no other ones. But why was, Karen Share chosen specifically? I know it's some ease in spending it, where there are other organizations, though, that could also be utilized. And if so, why are we choosing Karen Share versus another organizations that might be utilizing this? But in terms of general, I will state that we're doing this because the federal government mandates. This is a funded mandate, but it forces the match. And so if we didn't want this at all, the federal government said, you will take this money and you will match it. And so right now the question is, what's the best use of our matching funds? And if we have to use the money for the additional 1.3, I guess, funds. But if this was from scratch, a federal government that was not a mandate saying, oh, we have an opportunity for some money that you will have to bring to us, and you're going to we're on our own side voluntarily wanting to do this and say, we want this money and we want to give it to Karen Share, I don't think we would be doing this, right? So we're doing this because the federal government is forcing us to utilize funds. I think it was 21 million. I'm not sure what the total number was. We've underfunded, so we have been utilizing as best possible support to our families, and we were not able to use all the money. And so now the federal government is saying, well, too bad, you must spend it. And so we're trying to find a way. I don't think that's the best way for government to run. Find a way to spend this extra money that the federal government says you must spend. And because it's matching, I think there might be higher priorities that we could utilize these funds for. And we did find that there is an option to do some maneuvering with the money in a proper manner that would allow us to use our matching shares into other areas of the county government that I think potentially benefits residents and perhaps are higher priorities. And so I'd like to think about this longer, and so I would be supportive of delaying this a week or two, but have general concerns overall about the way the federal government is forcing us to make this decision. So I'm willing to second the motion.
Okay. There is a motion to continue this item that has been seconded. Any other comments on the particular motion?
Yes, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And, a very interesting agenda item here. And I'll express similar concerns with regard to federal government spending. From 2018 to 2022, federal revenues went up from 4.2 trillion to 4.9 trillion. And yet Congress still managed to figure out a way to spend more money than they brought in anyway. This is now producing a lot of public debt at the federal level that is really getting, it's way past becoming dangerous at this point, and I have grave concerns about that. But solving that problem is an issue for Congress, and I wish that they would work towards resolving that. I know there's a lot of debate about that going on right now in D.C., and I hope that there will be success in trying to better manage their spending. But having said that, I believe that if the funds are available, we should take advantage of them. And I really do believe that Karen Share is an outstanding organization. I believe that they will do their proper due diligence in the distribution of these funds for our community here. And I know that utilization of these dollars in our community, which is just a fantastic, outstanding community, will be put to good use to help citizens. So I kind of separate these two issues. The broader issue, which the federal government spends way too much money in, and it's very, very dangerous. But when the programs are made available, I think our refusing to address it is a challenge, and there is a time window here. Now, I appreciate some of the comments made from my colleagues about assessing it further, taking a little bit more time, but I am, for myself, I am sufficiently satisfied that the program that is proposed at this time is appropriate and is a proper way for us to make sure we get these distributions out before the dollars time out. So with regard to the current motion on the floor, I will be voting against that, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to make a subsequent motion and vote in favor of this item. So thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
I believe that Karen Share is a valuable organization. They have the resources to distribute this food to many needy families. I know that I've seen some of those distributions occur right next to my house in the library parking lot in the past 6 weeks. And I know that there's a lot of needy families out there right now. And so I will be voting against the motion and in support of distributing the funds to Goodwill or to Karen Share.
Some final thoughts from me. I think that Commissioner Geithner was correct and adept at saying earlier that good, robust debate gets us to a better point oftentimes. I think this is one of those times when we have to be cognizant of the timelines that are in front of us. I think also some of the ideas that Commissioner Geithner had about other ways that TANF funds can be used, I think some of those are great ideas. I think they're great ideas for future years of budgeting and exploring how we can differently utilize the TANF funds that we are allocated from the federal government in future budget years. But in this case, we're being confronted with a very time-sensitive issue. And it's for a portion of underspent budget. I also want to point out that we've known the allocation number all year, but as we do with all of our budgeting here at the county, no matter the color of the money, so to speak, where it comes from, we're incredibly conservative here in El Paso County and making sure that we're not overspending. And Ms. Simmons helps us with that. And I think, this is a time-sensitive decision, and I would love to explore all of the strategic things for future budget years. But at this point, our county residents qualified for this amount, and we say all the time that we would like to keep things local, and that this came up during ARPA funding discussion, and CARES Act. No matter what you thought about the money that was coming into the area from the federal government, at the end of the day, it was our responsibility to spend it well in our community for our residents, and I think that's what we're here for. I think we have an organization that is ready to deal with the requirements on the federal end. I think that is that's really necessary, again, when we're talking about 840,000 residents, narrowing it down to those who are eligible and knowing where those people go when they need help. And I think that what has been proposed fits that bill as closely as we can get it to the people that actually qualify. So while I agree in the robust debate, I would like to see us begin working right now on different ways to use next year's allocation of TANF funding with some of the ideas that Commissioner Geithner has. But I think for the item in front of us, I am not in favor of continuing because I think that jeopardizes the ability to get this money helping people within the time constraints that we have to hold to. And that's just part of being a county government. Commissioner Geithner. Oh, I think our county attorney has a comment real quick.
Oh, Madam Chair, I just wanted to make a really quick clarification. Our rules recognize either a continuance to a date certain or a continuance for an indefinite period of time. The way that the motion was made today would be for an indefinite period of time.
I'll just clarify, and you can give us, any proper procedure here, but mine would be my intended motion was for a date certain of next Tuesday.
And Madam Chair, I think with that clarification, that would be the motion that you're considering.
Thank you. And is the seconder on board with that clarification?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I guess with that, I would say 1 week is I think, as our county administrator said, that they can continue to look at that. I don't think 1 week is too much to ask to be able to continue to explore that. And I'm just going to clarify because when yes, I disagree with the continued amount that the federal government keeps sending down. But I'm going to clarify that we're not sending this money back to the federal government. That's not what anyone has proposed here. And what we're really looking at is additional or better ways to spend this money. So this is not a protest vote against what the federal government is doing. This is saying that number one, the resolution specifically mentions the SNAP cuts. So if you've read the resolution, you will see it specifically says because the federal government cut SNAP, this is what we're going to do. I think it's a slap in the face to Congressman Lamborn in particular. So I'm not particularly keen on that language, and that has been the pushing factor on this. I think rather than reacting to the SNAP situation here, we can, again, look for transformational change in our community, promoting additional things. And if we can't, we can always come back and have this conversation again next Tuesday. I don't think that a week is too much to ask for us to continue to explore those items. Is what I'm really asking for. So this is not a protest against, yes, my comments include that I don't think that the federal government is making wise choices here, but understand that, the intent here is to give us a week to fully understand. Again, I was getting information this morning, and I thank our staff, because I know that they're working very hard on this. This isn't a criticism of staff, but it is a criticism of how fast this has been pushed forward. And some of that is by necessity, but I do believe we can take the extra week to make those considerations. And again, I am going to state, we cannot, it is not beneficial. I know it is easy to say meals is beneficial. It is not beneficial to create more and more government dependence in our community. That is the issue at hand here, is we continue to do that. We have to think about the long-term effects of what this creates in our community. And again, I know that every one of us knows this. Welfare programs create dependency and ultimately create more poverty. So that's what I'm asking today is let's not create more poverty in our community by continuing to go down this road and taking the easy button of, hey, we can vote on this today and this will dispose of our funds. Let's take the time to truly look into this and see if we can figure out a better way forward. Because again, the best example I can give you is, it's kind of a funny one, but someone once said to me when they were throwing away half of a cake, it's either going to go to waste or go to waste. And that's the problem is, we don't want to throw things away, but what if it's actually more detrimental to go down this route? And we don't have to throw it away. We have options to continue to look, to even continue to have the conversation around selling back if we can't have any of those. But I don't think a week is too much to ask to allow for us to actually fully vet this. And so, again, I would ask for a yes vote on the continuation.
Any other comments? Okay, the motion on the table is to continue this item number 12 to a date certain of next Tuesday. Commissioner Williams.
No.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Nay.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes no. So we will be considering fully this item today. Item number 12, is there another motion or discussion?
I move approval of item number 12, the resolution to approve and enter into a supplemental agreement with Care and Share for $1.5 million.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? I would like to clarify, and reiterate. I mean, there were some very, very passionate and good points made. I think that that we have the opportunity to designate where this is going to go and how it can be used efficiently and expediently for our community and as close to the originally intended purpose as possible. And with that, I will call the roll. There's a motion to approve. No, oh, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so now in consideration of this, as, you know, voting on today, again, two things. I didn't see a list of other options. Karen Share is a great local group. We've funded it over the last 2 years, I believe was stated to a tune of $1 million over the last 2 years. And so this is an organization that El Paso County has supported in the past, CARES Act and ARPA funds. But if we continue to go into one organization, especially when I do not have a list of other organizations that could potentially benefit from this, it looks like we're picking one entity, winners and losers, we're picking one, and I have not even been shown a list of other organizations that could potentially benefit from this in a timely manner. I don't think that's right, which is why I think we asked for a delay so we could look at that. I don't have that, so I don't feel comfortable being able to vote on this when I was not given information that I think is relevant for this. The other aspect is I believe I came up with an idea last week where we could utilize the matching funds in a way if we had to, in part of one of this 1.5 or all of it, in terms of returning matching funds to us that we could utilize for what would be government and higher priority projects for the county. And so those were ideas that, again, not been totally fleshed out. And it's unfortunate that those ideas were not given a chance to get looked into. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to bring up one more concern that I have. As I, again, quite frankly, it is not responsible to continue to create welfare programs that hurt our citizens and create dependence on government. It is not American to do such things. And so again, I have personally donated to Care and Share. I don't have any ill will towards the organization, but I do think, again, when we were looking at those ramping up, it is our job to step outside of the individual. Whenever you're working for an organization, you're working towards something, you tend to be very focused internally on what that is. I really do believe it's our job to weigh widely. So one of the things I did is I decided to do a little bit of additional research into the Feeding America network, which Care and Share is a part of. And I was disturbed to find this on their website. Food insecurity is influenced by drivers, including poverty, unemployment, and household assets. True enough. A long history of racism and structural oppression has been perpetuated through policies that have caused many communities of color to face disparities in those drivers, and in turn, in food insecurity itself. To better understand these disparities, Feeding America conducts research exploring the intersection of race and ethnicity and food security. I think this is un-American. I think that this is a federal organization that believes that this is a systemically racist and oppressive nation, and that is concerning to me. I don't believe that. I believe that is a very partisan view, and I believe it's unhealthy. And so the connection with that federal organization gives me further concern because I believe that the move towards socialism is exactly driven by this type of conversation. So I do think that though it may not be the intent, and certainly there are lots of wonderful, great people who work at Care and Share, I think we have to be aware of all of those pieces. And I think right now we are being a cog in the wheel pushing towards this end goal.
Okay, thank you. So Commissioner Gonzalez, I don't know that this fully answers your questions that you had, but I heard Ms. Quiddick say that Care and Share was prepared and distributes to 120 plus of the smaller food pantries.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Nay.
Commissioner Geithner.
Nay.
And the chair votes aye. Item number 12 passes 3-2.
Thank you so much.
Item 13.
Item number 13 is a resolution to recognize revenue in the amount of $1,552,705 and appropriate expenditures in the amount of $3,967,682 for various budgets that need to be revised for the fiscal year 2023. Nikki Simmons, Chief Financial Officer.
Sorry about that, Commissioners. Good morning, Nikki Simmons, Chief Financial Officer. This resolution is just a part of our annual process of every few months we'll come to you and revise the 2023 budget as things differ from our projections early in the year. And there are several items on here. Typically, this would be on a consent calendar as your board rules require us only to come on regular items if we're appropriating unrestricted general fund dollars, and we are in one place, so I'll specifically talk to that. But the items in this are a district attorney's office grant for $45,000. Some funding needed to be appropriated from the capital improvement fund to finish out, which is really exciting, the next gen solution for the assessor and treasurer's office, funding that had been appropriated in prior years, and the fund balance is there for it, so they can wrap that project up this year. And we were able to pay off, also from our capital improvement fund, the capital lease, which we issued 3 years ago for our heavy fleet, and the remaining interest and principal from that didn't need to be spent is being appropriated to our fleet budget to maintain the original intent of those funds. We also have been working with the clerk and recorders. Oh, sorry, I mentioned that on that CIP budget, that's $321,000. We've been working with our clerk and recorder to restructure how his budget is done. No overall funding is changing. We're just unrestricting or undesignating some of his funding from restricted projects to unrestricted projects. So it actually cleans up the county's budget. It's something I'm really excited about. And so with that, we are asking for $500,000 to be appropriated to the general fund budget for the clerk and recorder's office, basically from the restricted fund balances. So this fund balance has been restricted all along, and now we're just moving it over to being unrestricted. We have also been working with our new county treasurer, who serves as the public trustee, on including the public trustees transactions in our financial reporting system. They've been held outside of our financial reporting system for years. Since the inception of that. And so working with Mr. Berman, we're moving those into the county's overall funding structure where the county finance will have more controls, internal controls over those monies. And so we're asking for $406,956 to be appropriated to the restricted general fund budget. That has no effect on actual, like the in and out of that is the same. It's just putting it into the financial system. And then in addition, the last part of this is $1.5 million needing to be recognized and appropriate to the TANF budget for human services. So overall, the real effect to the county's general fund here is that $500,000 from the restricted general fund to the unrestricted general fund. So if there's any questions on all of that, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Oh, well, I do just have one comment. There was one year long ago, 2006 to 2007, that those public trustee transactions were on the JDE system. And then we had a little, something happened. So things changed, not when I was in that office, so.
I appreciate that. I didn't know that history because I only know it back to 2010. So, but since I have worked at the county, they have been kind of done on separate books, still audited, but just not included in your financial statements. In fact, when I do my budget report in the next item, you'll see the public trustee transactions haven't come through yet. And so we're working with the process with the public trustee's office that now it'll just be treated like every county department, that they will come through on a monthly basis and we'll see that activity all year long versus in batches every quarter or 6 months. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, there's 2 different sets of transactions in the public trustee's office. One is the actual fees, which I don't know if those count towards our Tabor limit. I don't think they do. I can't remember. but the other are the actual transactions, which are millions and millions of dollars of people going in for $300,000 and buying a house and making that deposit, and it goes out on the same day to the bank. And so there's a bunch of transactions that happen that are never even considered in a governmental budget because it's the buying and selling of properties.
And to clarify your question or your comment, Commissioner Williams, public trustee fees do count towards our Tabor limit. But that's just the fee to the public trustee's office itself for doing that transaction, not the overall gross fees that get sent out to banks and collected on behalf of other entities.
Question?
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I think in general, I'm in support of this, but I do have a question about one of the hardware expenditures, the hardware software one, and it's in the resolution, and I may have missed a little bit about it, but it says next gen software project in there. And one of the things that we've been doing in the county over the last couple, 3 years is spending a lot of money to recapitalize our software, and it's been expensive. It's been a lot of funds put into that. I know part of that is cybersecurity and a lot of other things where we really do need to protect, private information from our citizens and residents. But did you mention what this particular amount of money was for yet?
Yes, Commissioner, this is the solution to get the assessor and treasurer's office off of the VAX and have it on what they're calling this next gen solution. And I would have to defer to our county administrator for more information. I'm definitely not your IT guru, but it is something that we have been working to for several years, and we're very excited to not be operating off of the VAX anymore for our property tax records.
Okay, so thank you. So I appreciate the clarification. So this is an allocation of a broader program where office by office, step by step, removing ourselves from a lot of legacy products and moving into modern products.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Now I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for Ms. Simmons? Is there a motion?
I move approval of item 13.
And I'll second.
I'll call the roll. Any other? Okay. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Item 13 passes 5-0. Item 14.
Item number 14 is department and committee reports, non-action items. 14A, quarterly final budget presentation to BOCC, December 2022. Final unaudited 2022 activity. Quarterly budget presentation to BOCC, March 2023. Quarter 1, sales and use tax report, February 2023. Nikki Simmons, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Nikki Simmons, and our wonderful AV team is going to pull up my presentation for me. While I'm waiting for that, I just wanted to kind of backtrack to the item on national county government and say how much I appreciate the comments from this board. And it makes me super proud to be a county employee and the things that we do. And sometimes I think we just work really hard and what are we accomplishing and getting done, but we really do a lot of good, and I'm super proud of our team and our people. So thank you for all your comments. My presentation has been pulled up. So this is our final budget report before our audit for 2022. As you know, I don't come to you for the last couple months of the year, or the first couple months of the year with a December report until we wrap up everything. Because at the end of the year, it takes us a couple months to get all those transactions in. We're a very large entity. And so we take those months to make sure that we have everything right, and then we give this information to the auditors. They come in and see if they have any adjustments to it. So for December 2022, your overall revenues, the budget was $172.9 million for the general fund. We received $186.9 million. So we did receive revenue in excess of budget of $13.9 million. And the primary places that we saw those, as we saw throughout the year, sales tax was up significantly to budget. And you've already seen those reports from me earlier in the year, but came in about 11% over budget as we continue to see very strong collections throughout the year. Then interest on investments was the other area where we saw large increases. And that one for us is a very hard place to budget because it's so dependent on the federal government and rates that the Fed is setting. And so for many, many months prior to this, even with more cash in the bank, we would be receiving, maybe $100,000 a month in interest revenue. And then towards the end of the year, we started seeing a lot higher rates coming in. And so you have a $4 million variance to budget there. Everything else came in closer to budget. Planning and community development fees, as we saw in 2022, very strong construction economy and submittal of plans. And so that was approximately 10% over budget. The one area where we didn't meet budget was clerk and recorder fees. And that again is the same idea as the interest on investments, but the opposite, right? When those interest rates are higher, the clerk and recorder's recording department sees much lower activity because people are not refinancing, they are not buying new homes, and so it's not a good indication, or it's an indication of a not so great construction economy or interest rate situation. So overall, we received again $13.9 million in positive variance to budget. On the expenditure side, you'll note a very large positive variance to budget of $40 million. But remember that two things in there. We intentionally had some underspending in the general fund to try to create savings that we could spend on other items for the 2023 budget. And so that's where, if you remember back to the budget hearings that we had last fall, we came forward with operational savings, and that was planning of that money, as well as you'll see that we reappropriated $18.8 million from 2022 to 2023's budget, and those were projects in process. So when you have, almost a $200 million general fund budget, it makes a lot of sense that about 10% of that is large projects in process that are being reappropriated from one year to the next. In addition, you can see the 2022 estimated Tabor overage of $31.5 million, and so that's being held in reserve. So we started the year with $23.2 million in fund balance, and the projected fund balance as of December 31st of 22 is $27.2 million. I can move on to the Road and Bridge Fund. As you can see, the general revenues came in very close to budget with one exception, and those were some subdivision fees and overall revenues. And then the federal grants. Remember, with federal grants, we record the revenue when we expend the expense. And so if we don't expend the expense, then we don't record the revenue. And so about $11.8 million in federal revenue was not recorded, but that also means the expense wasn't done. And again, those are those projects in process. If we budget for us to be able to do the entire project, but then if the project's still in process at the end of the year, we roll over that revenue budget and we roll over that expense budget. So we ended the year with a positive $5.4 million in fund balance impact, and we were able to roll that forward into the 2023 budget. On this restricted fund, everything that goes into Road and Bridge stays in Road and Bridge. So it's not money that we would ever pull out to fund to any other project. It stays for roads. Human Services ended the year with just a variance to budget of a positive $339,000, so very, very close to budget. Your capital improvement budget ended with a negative variance of $4,900. The primary reason for that was we owned some buildings where we were charging some rent. We changed what we were doing with those buildings in 2022. So with the rent didn't come in, but then the expenditures didn't also come in. So no concerns on the capital improvement budget. And the self-insurance budget, this is the risk and workers' compensation side. We were able to actually transfer some funds from the health side. As you remember, throughout last year, we were overexpending on the risk and workers' compensation side, underexpending on the health side. And so we did have to transfer about $1 million over from health into risk and workers' comp. But we are in a good situation in our fund balance for this. as well as for our health trust benefits. The general fund unrestricted budget. There's one number on here I really want to explain because it's a kind of a weird accounting thing. On here, you'll see the American Rescue Plan Act has a negative $78 million variance to budget. That's only, what that is, again, is because as we spend the money, we record the revenue as well at the same time. And so under generally accepted accounting principles for government GAAP, we have to remove the revenue if we didn't spend it. And so as we know, we appropriate the entire amount of ARPA and allow us to work on all those projects. But then at the end of the year, what wasn't spent, actually remitted out to other entities or spent internally, we have to defer that revenue to the next year. And so what is being deferred into 2023 is $78.4 million. So that revenue was there. It's not I want to say a real variance. It's just that, so that's the same expenditure budget you'll see in 2023. So we received about $140 million in 2021. And so you can see that remaining as of end of 2022, we have about $78 million left. And obviously we've been updating the board on a consistent basis on what our plans are to spend all of that. Your Conservation Trust Fund is ending the year with about $1.5 million in the budget, and that's restricted towards parks, capital, and maintenance. And your Schools Trust Fund ended the year with $334,000 and very close to budget. The Household Hazardous Waste Enterprise ended the year with a positive variance to budget of $289,000. The only revenue that was slightly below budget was scrap metal recycling. And the Falcon Vista LID was short in revenue of $9,026. And with that, we only are allowed to pay the payments of the revenue that does come in. And so we are paying based on the collected revenues there. So that is the final budget report for 2022. If there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them, or I can move on to the March 23 budget report.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Can you tell us what the timeline on auditing and having these kind of final official is, and whether that comes back to us as a presentation when it's audited?
So our auditors are actually on site this week through the next, I think 4 weeks total. They're here. And so what they would do is they would propose any adjustments to these numbers if they go through an audit and they find anything that needs to be adjusted. This presentation wouldn't necessarily be redone. What would be presented, and they always in public session present if there is an audit adjustment or any sort of finding. And that is done typically the last Tuesday of June when they would come forward in front of this board to present that final audit. The two documents don't look the same. You won't get this report again, but what would happen is you would know that there was an adjustment and how much it was for.
Great, thank you.
Question.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And I noted, if I read it correct, about 30 million in Tabor overage from 2022. Is that correct?
31 point something.
30 and change.
Yeah.
So I think perhaps the staff is working on this, but I just ask that we kind of really get into the process of trying to determine how we want to do those distributions, because, you know, we've had kind of a process in the past, but we've been talking over the year about some innovative approaches on how to distribute those funds. So to make sure that we don't get caught at the last minute on that, it'd be great to get ourselves engaged on what those other alternatives are, so we can have, you know, get to a decision about how we want to proceed.
And I appreciate those comments, Commissioner. I do know that our Government Affairs Department is taking the lead on options to be able to distribute that money back to our taxpayers. And so we're looking at every possible option to distribute that differently than a property tax credit.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And this is a department and committee report, so it needs no action, correct?
So
Okay.
I have a couple more presentations for you. My next one is the March budget report. So this is our first quarterly report for 2023 and how we're doing compared to the 2023 budget. General fund unrestricted revenues. Right now we have a positive $1.5 million positive variance to budget. That being said, there's a couple areas that we're watching very closely. The first is sales and use tax. Our sales and use tax is down compared to budget. It's also down compared to last year, this time year to date. This is only for 2 months. As you remember, we are always 1 month in arrears on sales tax collections based on the way that we collect it through the Department of Revenue at the state. For the first 2 months, we're down $1.4 million to budget, and we're down compared to last year as well. We included in our budget was a 4% escalation for increase over our projection for 2022. And so right now we're actually negative compared to 2022. So we're monitoring that very closely. The clerk and recorder fees also are in that same situation. So we're still in a very high interest rate environment, and so the recording department is not collecting the fees that they typically do. Other than that, the other one I wanted to point out again is that interest on investments. And you'll note that our entire annual budget for interest on investments is $1.5 million. In prior years, we've had where we've collected anywhere from $800,000 to, maybe $1 million. We did increase this budget to $1.5 million based on the end of last year coming in fairly high. You'll note that through 3 months, we actually have already collected $3.8 million. And that's due to this interest rate environment. All of our money is very conservatively invested in Colo Trust. So this isn't an indication of any kind of risky investing strategy. This is all very safe. T-bills, things like that. They're just, the interest rates are much, much higher right now. And so with that, that kind of right now is making up for the increased sales and use tax collection. I'm not an economist. I would rather, but I would rather see that money coming in through sales and use tax collections. I think that's a better indicator of a good economy versus high interest rates. But this is where our revenues are ending up right now.
I have a quick question for you. So given kind of the impact with high interest rates on the clerk and recorder's office, have there been adjustments to their office or operational budget at all, or are we counting on that interest to make up for that?
At this point, we're counting on that interest to make up for that. The interesting part about the clerk and recorder's operations is when you think about the clerk and recorder's office, most of their office is the DMV, right? And so that's where most of the transactions and I think like 75–80% of their staffing is. But most of their county retained revenues come in through the recording office. So they actually don't have that many employees assigned to their recording office. And so there's not a lot of adjustments we can make in that area as the transactions aren't happening. But they are taking this time right now to digitize some older things like that, making like they're still fully busy, but there's no operational changes we feel like we can make at this point.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So through March, you'll see about $6 million in personnel savings in the general fund budget. I have been talking a lot to our Director of Human Resources. We seem to be able to, we're starting to fill positions and being able to, so we should start seeing that variance go down throughout the year is our hope, as we want to make sure we're staffed and ready to serve our citizens. But no concerns in the general fund at this point. Our road and bridge budget is slightly below budget on not property taxes, highway user taxes. The highway user taxes are trending significantly below where CCI and CDOT thought that they would be year to date. And if you remember, we've made some significant changes. When I say we, the state government has made significant changes to how we collect highway user taxes. They've increased fees, I believe, on gas taxes and other fees on your license plates, things like that.
And so they came up with new projections, sent them to each county and city based on how much we would receive of that. And those revenues have not come in at those amounts. And so our budget right now, we're short about $432,000. We have reached out to them just to see what the other projections are. They feel like some of that will level out the next several months, but we will end the year short of our budget in highway user taxes. At this point, I'm not concerned about any of that. We have the funding in the Road and Bridge Fund to make up for that. And so our Road and Bridge Fund will continue at the levels the commissioner set it for 2023. Human Services. Right now, we're at just a $3,000 variance to the year-to-date budget, and so no concerns. This is one of the hardest budgets to kind of track based on how the revenues come in and out. And expenditures happen, and then the revenues follow them. But right now, very close to budget overall. Your capital improvement fund has had no activity. No activity during March. There's been slight activity, sales tax coming in. And then the restricted revenues are the revenues that we collect to pay the 2012 COP, which was for the regional building office. And the good news on that one is that COP will be paid off in December of this year. And so we'll be paying off one of our debt mechanisms this year. So I'm really excited about that. Our risk and workers' compensation side of the self-insurance fund is trending a slightly positive to budget. We're continuing to monitor that really closely, as we all know that we're working on some liability claims and those kind of things. Our workers' compensation, we increased that budget for 2023 based on experience over the last 2 years, and now we're trending down again, which is great, but we do have positive variance to budget there. On our health plan trust, the one area that I want to point out is the prescriptions. Those are trending significantly higher than any prior year that we've had. And so our HR director, as well as our benefits manager, and I have been meeting a lot with our benefits consultants about why this is happening. There's several high claims for formulary drugs, which the good news here is most of them are not things that people would stay on for life or for even a year. They're short-term treatments. And so our consultants do expect this to normalize over the next several months. The other good news here is that some of those claims were over our stop loss threshold, and so we'll be getting reimbursed from a different insurance carrier for the overage on that. But overall, self-insurance is in a very good spot to end the year within budget. And so we're just going to continue to monitor this and work closely with those consultants. But at this point, I'm not concerned, but monitoring.
One quick question on that one. I know that sometime in the next couple of weeks, there is a health plan trust board meeting. Is that something that group deals with adjustments, both on the policy side and the finance side, as issues become apparent?
Yes. And so we will absolutely be talking to that entire health plan trust board. One, I will be bringing this financial statement as well as the year-end 2022. So we'll present both of these to that entire health plan trust board. And Mercer, who is our benefit consultant, is prepared to talk to what's going on with prescriptions, why that is, and if any mitigating things that we need to do about it.
Excellent. Thank you.
So the restricted general fund, you'll see on the American Rescue Plan Act, that same $78.4 million, which is the money I showed on the December report that we had to roll over. And so that's the funding that will be there for next year. And no other, my clicker's not working. There it goes.
Question on this
Yeah.
one? Thanks, Madam Chair. Although, well, if we could go, yeah, there. So even though it's a small part of the budget, the aviation sales tax, since I sit on the Airport Advisory Commission, liaison to the Airport Advisory Commission, so it's roughly double, if I'm looking at that correctly. What's causing that?
So I actually don't have an answer for you specifically on the aviation fuel tax. I'm more than happy to look into it for you. It is specifically our 1.23% sales tax on fuel. that under FAA requirements, we cannot use on anything else besides supporting airports or airport-related activities. So we have a policy in place. We've spent some money from that, but any funding in that restricted fund has to be used for aviation purposes. But I don't know the reason that it's higher. I will say that with this fund, it does things like that. Like it has huge jumps month to month sometimes, or huge decreases, and it's not really. It's so few vendors that remit into it that it's hard to project.
Okay. But I think maybe now I can offer a speculation on why it might go up, and that would be because it's based on a percentage of the sale price, and aviation fuel has really gone up.
Oh, that's a very good point. It absolutely is a percentage of the price.
It might still be the same percentage, but because the price of the fuel's gone up, that means there's more sales tax revenue collected. That's probably what's causing it. I just didn't realize it was double.
Yeah,
So,
it is
wow.
double, and yeah, and I don't know. I will tell you when Southwest Airlines came to the Colorado Springs Airport, we saw a significant increase when that happened. So there's a lot of things that happen within the aviation tax that change it dramatically because it's such a small budget to begin with compared to the overall county budget that we can't. It's not as or trackable and forecastable as overall sales tax trends are.
Thank you.
As you can see, our Conservation Trust Fund is doing, the revenues are coming in very strong. In talking with my budget team, that has a lot to do with the lottery proceeds that are going on. Again, that's one of those things that's very hard to forecast. And working very closely with our Community Services Department to make plans to expend those funds. The Schools Trust Fund, in April, I believe last week or the week before, we came to you with a resolution to appropriate those funds, not appropriate those funds, but to expend those funds to the school districts in which they're held in trust for. And so you'll see that on your next report. Household Hazardous Waste Fund, the revenues are coming close to budget, slightly over budget in expenditures, but in talking with our Community Services Department, that was one-time expenditures which are planned and won't repeat throughout the year. And the Falcon Vista LID had minimal activity through the year. Are there any last questions on the budget report before I move on to the sales and use tax report? Okay. Blake, could I have the February sales and use tax? That's the one. Thank you. So as I mentioned in the budget report, this is sales and use tax through February, which is the most current information that we have. This is the consumer activity that happened in the month of February, which is remitted to the Colorado Department of Revenue on our behalf during March. And then in April, we received those funds and the information from the state. As you can see, through February, we are down 0.26%. This is the overall retail activity. So down 0.26% year to date. So very close to last year, but when you add in the use tax on automobiles, which is slightly up over last year, and the construction material use tax, which is down through February 61%. $83,000 was what was collected in February of 2023. That is the first 5-digit number that we've seen since since about 2008, 2009 time period. And so very, very drastic decreases on construction use tax being collected through regional building in El Paso County.
Quick question on that. I'll need you to pull out your crystal ball, right? Is this indicative of supply chain issues or truly a construction slowdown, or a little of both?
So in talking with regional building as well as our planning department, I think it's both. Again, I joke that my crystal ball is broken. There was actually a great article in the Gazette yesterday on how the builders are still expecting 2023 to be a good year. And so I'm hopeful that some of this will come back up, but at this point, we're not planning on it. But working very closely with all of the stakeholders about our local construction economy. So when we put everything together, all components together, we're down 3.07% year to date, with February being 1.1% of that. And so you can see last year we were collecting 11.2 million, 11.8 million in January, and down about 100,000 in one month, and down about 600,000 in the other month. And so when you compare that to our budget, this is going to be the same negative 1.4 million you saw in your budget report, which is through the month of April, or sorry, we're in April, through the month of February, down 5.86% compared to budget. But again, I do want to put out there that our budget is still in a very strong place. I have no concerns about a need for any sort of budget cuts. We planned for this. We made a very conservative planning going into 2023 with the help of our county administrator, making sure that we were prepared for some sort of recessionary impact. I'm not an economist. I'm not going to say that we're in a recession, but we prepared for a downfall in sales tax. And there are a lot of compensating things in our budget to allow our budget to continue at the level that you all set it when you approved the 2023 budget. So I just want to put that assurance out there. I have no concerns about our ongoing budget, even with this decrease. So that's all I have for you today. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Simmons? Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this might have been useful before the last vote, where maybe we should have retained those $200,000 or $300,000 for our general fund budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Geithner.
I just want to add, though, I am not an economist and do not also have a crystal ball, the question around housing, and because I sit on the regional building board, we've had some conversations around that. And I do think that one of the things that the additional things that we're talking about really affecting building is interest rates. That is most definitely affecting what we're seeing, again, tied to inflation and tied back to the huge massive spending amounts that we have had. So, it's frustrating to continue to see a vicious cycle in our community that is detrimental to our residents.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Ms. Simmons.
Thank you.
Item number 15.
Item number 15 is the addendum, and there are no addendums today.
Item 16.
Item 16 is executive session, and there is no request for executive session.
This meeting is adjourned. Is that a who?